Hi everyone, it's Julia Keller, juliakeller.co.uk. Now, I'm sure if you've been having your eyes open at all, you've probably seen lots of different debates about vaccination. So these days, the vaccination debate is hotter than ever because we're obviously having different legislation come out, which is talking about forcing vaccines. Because of the whole corona vaccine. So one of the areas that's being talked about being forced is, well, all vaccines in general. And another area that's trying to be forced, which some people really disagree with, is forcing of the flu vaccine onto which the corona vaccine will probably bind. So right now, recently, we've had legislation come out in Massachusetts, for example, where all Boston schools are saying, Massachusetts in the US, for those of you who are from abroad, all Boston schools are saying that as of this September / October, they want students to be vaccinated against the flu vaccine in order for them to go to school. And the only way to get out of that is through religious reasons. And I'm not quite sure what religion is anti-vaccines, but I'm sure you guys who are anti-vaccines have done all that research. So this debate is going on, and it's pretty much very hot right now on Instagram, on Facebook, on pretty much all social media. You have the very stringent anti-vaxxers and you have the very stringent pro-vaxxers, and it's basically side to side and parallel with the to mask and not to mask debate that's going on at the same time, which we're not going to talk about today. We've already had a couple of videos on that. But we had somebody on, we had Mark on quite a while ago, probably like a couple months ago, and we can repost that again for you guys, who was very anti-vaccine, and he came up with all sorts of charts and reasons why he was anti-vaccine. And I decided he was a very strong opinion, and I want to balance that because for those of you who are watching, I'm very much in the middle, and I'm not necessarily completely decided myself. So I kind of want to have somebody on both to help me make up my mind, but also to help you guys make up your mind in case you're somewhere in the middle. And Sue has kindly volunteered, thank you so much, Sue, as a mom to, and I don't know if you guys know, but the person who was on before was not a parent, just basically anti-vaccines from his own perspective and from his own parents' perspective. But Sue is a mom, and I love that because we really want to hear, as a mom myself, to hear a mom's perspective of why vaccines are really useful. So this, and the people I have on are people who are, not necessarily have done, specific research for a thesis or for a book about the topic. It's more people who do it for a personal level. And that personal side is really, what we talk about here. It's a very personal kind of video series that we do. And so I'd love to hear, Sue, your stance on vaccines and why you're for them.
Well, I think the question is, well, why wouldn't you? From my point of view, yes, I was vaccinated as a child. It was just, I'd say it was just the done thing in Ireland in the 70s, because there were a number of flare-ups that were prevalent at the time. Mm-hmm. I think polio was one of them at the time in the 70s and that kind of thing. And I was never brought up to be anti-vaccine, but we were educated kind of like the pros and cons. So when I had my own children, yes, I did think about it. We chatted about it, mm-hmm. And it was a case of, well, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to protect them in whatever way we can? Why would this be offered to us if it wasn't a good option? Mm-hmm. The medical companies and medical profession aren't going to give these things to us to harm us. This is my view anyway.
Well, I think probably somebody who's anti-vax would jump on quite a lot of those things, but
probably,
yeah, probably. I think part of the anti-vax campaign right now is because they actually disagree with that statement specifically, that the medical community wouldn't harm us, and I don't think it's really the fault of the medical community, and I don't think it's like something that they would say is malicious of like that they're trying to harm people. It's more is there enough, I think the question is there enough knowledge around vaccines in order for them to recommend what they're recommending? So, but putting that aside for now, just to go back to what you said, when you were starting to think about it for your kids, and how old are your kids now?
Rising 10 and 6.
Okay, well, you looked into that's like, so it's about 10, 6 years ago that you kind of looking into it, probably 9, probably like around when they were just born to You know, somewhere between 0 to 1 is when we throw a lot of the vaccines on our youngsters.
Yes.
And the question that you brought up is that you looked into it. So
Yes, we
you
did.
guys were,
We did. We looked into it, whether to do the 3-in-1 and what order to do them in. And
mm,
like I had a discussion with my doctor about it, and we decided, because I was a little bit nervous, because who wants to
okay.
put a needle in their newborn
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
deliberately?
Yeah.
And because of some of my own fears, my doctor suggested, well, let's split them up and do them over a course of an extra
Okay.
few weeks. It's fine. Let's see what the reaction is, because again, as a new mom, I was nervous. But
Yeah.
then on the second time round, I actually gave my youngest the chickenpox vaccination.
Okay.
After the experience I'd had with my first, who had chickenpox and had it quite badly,
Oh,
I was
really?
like, why would I want to put my child through that again if I have an option to have another vaccination? So I
Okay.
did.
So from your perspective is more have the vaccine in order that you don't have to suffer the
Yeah.
situation. So
Yeah,
when
and
you say,
it helps others around you as well, in my opinion.
yeah,
Again, it's all my opinion. It's like, kind of,
and
if my kid isn't going to get sick, well, then they're possibly not going to pass it on to somebody else who could be even worse. So you
yeah,
don't
and
know who's
I would
out there.
say that opinion right there is exactly what the pro-vaccine side is
Mm.
very strong about, where they're saying, I mean, I've heard people who are very adamantly pro-vaccine who basically said everyone who doesn't vaccinate should be put against a wall and shot. Now, that's a very strong opinion, obviously.
No, I'm
Um,
not that bad.
right, exactly. Because they're actually doing harm to children around them who are not, who are either not yet fully vaccinated, like perhaps they have one set but it's not fully protected, as we know the
Hmm.
way the MMR works, in
Yeah,
particular, and a lot of vaccines, where the reason they do all these 3 sets is not because everybody's not protected. It's because there's a certain percentage of people, somewhere between 20 to 30%, that are not protected at all from the
yeah,
first set. So we try to get those, protect them with a second set, and if they're still not protected, then we try to get them with a third set. So a lot of those last 2 sets, let's say for 70 to 80%, may not even be necessary. They
hmm,
may be protected without them, but there's no
yeah,
way for us to know unless we go and put our kids through a blood test, which is something I put my kids through. And it's not pleasant, as a mom, to sit there and have their blood drawn just to avoid, a little prick. So
yeah,
you did it kind of from a point of view of protecting your kids and other kids. Now, I want to
yes,
specifically go into the chickenpox vaccine, because the chickenpox
sure,
vaccine is one of these where I am very much on the fence with. I'm just like, okay, is chickenpox really that bad? Where I wouldn't be with something like measles, because measles is really bad for
yeah,
a lot of people. And measles still kills people in different countries.
yes, yes,
Not so much here because we've pretty much got the MMR down. But although we did have a measles outbreak, I think it was 5 or 6 years back, with some people that came in from another country that I think weren't fully vaccinated
yeah,
or something. So we do have this every once in a while, but that doesn't really kill people because our hospitals know how to deal with measles. Um,
yes,
but something like chickenpox is very unlikely to kill somebody, and there are, or to even significantly hurt them. And there are some anti-vaxxers who say that, okay, if you do vaccinate against chickenpox, you are more prone to get things like shingles when you're
yeah.
older. So did you do any looking at that,
No, I
to,
didn't look at the shingles piece,
okay,
but I suffered I suffered very badly with German measles myself. I suffered
okay,
very badly with chickenpox myself, and then my eldest daughter got chickenpox, and it was horrendous. And
okay,
I just, if I could stop the suffering of my second daughter
yeah,
from going through that, and us as a family,
yeah,
um,
of course,
I was going to do what I could. And that wasn't a free one.
yeah.
That was one that I actually chose to pay for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
In America, it's free, actually. Oh, or not free,
Oh,
it's
okay.
included in your, I think it's actually, is it not? It's an included vaccine in the States, or part of
Yeah,
your
it's not in the
usual.
UK.
Okay. Um, Tell me, when you say suffering really badly,
Yeah.
um, can you compare for me when you say, what does that mean?
Oh, she was completely covered. It was pain. Like, even for myself, I
Uh,
can remember. I was 14. It was so painful. I couldn't
right.
eat. I couldn't
Okay.
move. I couldn't sleep.
Okay.
And 3, 4
Yeah.
weeks. Why?
3, 4
When
weeks.
it's
Yeah, that's a long time for chickenpox.
and plus out of school for that amount of time as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it just
Especially
felt
at
like the right thing.
14. At 14, it's
Yeah.
definitely not
Yeah,
pleasant.
I was taking exams that year. It was
Right.
horrible. I'm
Yeah,
still
I can.
traumatized.
Right. Okay. So but compared to the German measles, which
I don't,
that's rubella, isn't it?
yeah, I had that at 4
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
And was that as bad as German measles for you?
I don't remember that as
You
much.
don't remember?
At
Okay.
14, I clearly remember it.
Yeah.
14, I don't remember so much. But
Okay.
my mom does tell me it was quite bad. She had to keep both of us off school and all this kind of thing.
Right.
But I don't remember it 4.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't none of them were deadly, but they were definitely devastating. 4 weeks
Yes.
of being off school is a really long time when you're 14 and you need to catch
Or
up on
something like chickenpox.
yeah,
Like, as you
absolutely.
say.
Absolutely. And that is an extreme situation.
Yeah.
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 Now back to the vaccine debate. How do you feel about other vaccines? Like, for example, there's another debate. You have a girl, you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There's the HPV vaccine, which will
Yep.
make its way into their lives when she's in high school or secondary school.
Yeah.
I think around year 10 is when they start to introduce the HPV vaccine. And they do it at school. So most of the girls get it. And I think they're starting to do it for boys as well soon, interestingly enough, because I don't think it does anything for boys. Have you done any research on that vaccine at all?
I haven't done a whole heap of it now because it's 5 years ahead of us right now.
Yeah.
But I won't be saying no. Let me put it that way.
Okay. So, and then the other thing that you said, so with the HPV vaccine, the anti-vaxxers will say it's one of the vaccines that actually harms you rather than does you good. There have been different pockets where they had very adverse reactions to the HPV vaccine. And I bring that one up because that one's coming up now with the whole vaccination debate. So there's a couple of vaccines that are coming up now that people argue about. Nobody's really arguing about the MMR at the moment. You know, the MMR was a big thing before when there was a doctor that did that research, which was later discredited. So nobody knows if that's true or not true, but apparently the research wasn't able to be remanufactured, let's say.
Yeah, it wasn't conclusive.
It wasn't, right. It was completely, and he was discredited. So we that's not really in the debate right now. But what the things that are coming up are vaccines, other than, of course, for very strong anti-vaxxers, which basically we'll talk about every vaccine. And there is a very interesting video series that's on for those who are interested in finding out more about vaccines, and it's called The Truth About Vaccines, from a very anti-vaxxer point of view, to be fair. And it was mentioned by the last person I interviewed. So the debate right now is about the HPV vaccine, which has negative press, let's say, around it. Obviously the corona vaccine, which many people want the option to have or not have, and then the flu vaccine. And so I'm going to ask you about those. But before that, I just want to go back to what you said, which is that you chose, actually like I chose, to split them up and spread them out a bit more.
Yeah.
How did and you said your doctor kind of talked you through this.
Yep.
How did you make that decision?
So the discreditation had not happened at the time. And it was around that discussion that made me think and want to discuss it further. And yeah, we just talked about it, and he just said, like, just do it in stages. There was, I think possibly there was a few people who were doing it that way, and it wasn't a surprise that somebody was asking for them to be split.
Yeah. And was that here in the UK or in Ireland?
It was in the UK. Yeah.
That's a very progressive doctor in the UK, because usually NHS, they just kind of like, this is how we do it. This is how you get it.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, amazing. That's what I did with my kids too. I mean, one of the reasons that they say why they try to get so many vaccines into the youngsters quickly is because some parents don't come back to the doctor. Yeah. Basically, they will be at the doctor when they're, about to give birth, and then they'll come back for the initial, and then after a while they kind of lose interest, and so you lose those parents. So you want to throw in as many vaccines as possible for those parents to basically make sure they're covered so that they're not spreading disease unknowingly. So that's kind of how that whole, let's just vaccinate with everything. But obviously, one of the things that has come up and has been said and debated was that we throw more vaccines at our youngsters before they're even 1 than we do at people going to the army to like places like, you know, Syria or dangerous places in the Middle East or Africa where there can actually be serious disease. So
Yeah.
why do we do that, you know, to our children when we won't even do that to our soldiers?
I
So
think you have the footfall at doctor surgeries before children are one.
well, that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly the reasoning why. And but the thing is, what are we doing to our kids' immune system? That's what's
Yeah.
been brought
Yeah.
up. So your choice where you kind of made the decision to break it up and to, you know, see the reaction. The main
Yes.
reason, by the way, why the separates were created is because it allows parents to see the response of the child's immune system to each specific issue. So let's say you give them the polio vaccine, you could see the response to the polio vaccine. Let's say you give them the,
it wasn't a blended response.
Exactly. Rather than giving them 5 at once, and you're like, okay, we don't know what it is that just
which one's the issue.
Exactly. So that was a very wise choice. I commend you on that. But now going back to this current debate, and I don't know if you've looked at it at all about the flu vaccine. I don't know if it's, you know, something your workplace or your school
has said. Always have it.
Okay, so you have it every year.
I have it every year, and so do the rest of the family.
And has it changed your immunity, you think, to the flu?
I haven't had it.
Okay. and the first
my kids have never had it. My husband is asthmatic, so it's recommended he has it anyway. And he chooses to have it too. Now he has had flu, a version, once.
Okay.
Even though he'd had the immunization of that year, but who knows? Like, if we didn't have it, I don't know if we would be fine. But look, I commute into London every day. I'm on a train, subjected to a train for 2.5 hours round trip with everybody.
Right.
Like herded cattle on these trains sometimes.
Yeah.
And if I can stop myself or my family getting sick and possibly others around me, I will.
Right. So so what about the first time you guys had that vaccine? Because I've heard from a lot of friends that the first time they had the flu vaccine, they ended up with like walking pneumonia or bronchitis or some issue. No. Did you have any problems?
None. Nothing. Just a dead arm for a while, but other than that, it was fine.
Oh, that's from all the vaccine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it gets a bit numb a bit ouchy for a while. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But the kids have the kids have the nasal spray, so they don't even notice.
Oh, that's right. They have the nasal spray, which is one of the things that they're trialing with the corona vaccine, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think I've just read that they had some volunteers that are trialing to put some corona up their nose recently, which is interesting. So I assume then, from the fact that you have the flu every year, that you would be happy to add the corona onto that.
Yeah, like I'm probably not going to be first in line.
Yeah.
I want to see how it goes. But yeah, we will. Like, I don't think I will feel comfortable until we've had it.
Right.
Like about going about our old normal, new normal, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I think until we have, in our house anyway, I won't feel entirely comfortable with things until we've had some sort of vaccination.
Okay. And why is that?
Because it's just the thing we do, but it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I'd rather not. If there's a chance of us not being extremely poorly, I will take it.
Right.
I also understand the risk that if you have these things, you may end up with some of the symptoms, but it might be milder.
Right.
And yes, you might say then that you could have avoided it entirely by not having the vaccination, but then are you potentially bringing it on for yourself worse by not having anything?
Right.
So it's kind of the lesser of two evils at the moment. Look, I haven't seen everything come out yet, and it'll all come out of the woodwork in the next few months, I expect. But
yeah,
I can't say I would agree with the forcing people to have it, because that's taking things a little bit too far in my opinion. But again, it's just my opinion for my family.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're comfortable with so here's a question that will actually put it out there. So with vaccines such as, let's say, polio, MMR, other diseases that are highly spreadable, that are deadly, if I asked you, do you believe that we should force excuse me, everybody to have them, what would your answer be?
I wouldn't force anybody to have anything they don't want to have.
Okay, so you still leave it open for people to make the choice.
To the individual, yes.
Okay. Even if the specific disease can be quite dangerous, such as measles. Or
yes, well, because I would make the decision to still make the decision to vaccinate myself and the people around me.
okay,
Like, I don't know, say in my children's class, I don't know which children have had vaccinations and which ones
right,
don't. But as long as mine are protected,
yeah,
I'm kind of fine with that.
and that's a very open-minded argument. So you basically you protect your own, but everybody else can make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. It's very similar to my argument actually, where you kind of leave, you don't want to offend people's civil liberties by forcing them to make a choice that they may not be comfortable with. And thank you so much for being on this.
No worries.
And speaking to us as a mom, as a as a person protecting your family, as somebody who even has an asthmatic in your family, and that's like even more so, you want to make sure that they're okay. So I really applaud you for your opinion as well, and the way you've done things. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sue. Thanks for giving us your time.
Okay.
And have a great holiday.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
you. Bye.